Hey, welcome to the Balcony Podcast, episode 2. I just want to thank the Montreals again for letting me use their music. The song, by the way, is called Rude, so definitely go check them out. I just wanted to thank everyone for the really positive feedback received after the first one. It was very, very overwhelming, and already had some people say that it was definitely something that they needed to hear, or that they learned something, and that's just amazing. So thanks again to Mikey for getting us started. But I have a very special guest this week who means a lot to me. I won't tell his name until he pops up on the screen there. But no, this man was probably became my closest friend here in Victoria after I moved my life over here. And the reason why I wanted him on next was because he's probably been the most instrumental person over the whole journey of my time here, in terms of, I guess, not just receiving the balcony spirit, but giving it back. He's a very, very inclusive person by nature, and lives a lot of the stuff that we talked about last week. He's definitely not just seen my growth since being here, but been a catalyst in that as well, and I am super, super grateful for him. He also, just to show you what kind of unreal person he is, when he moved back to Calgary, he gave some people some gifts, and I've never had a photo of myself in my house before, but Logan gave me that, and it says, "Believe in yourself and no one and nothing can stop you," which is a quote by Buddha. And honestly, it's a big part of the mantra of the balcony, but he really instills that belief in you as well. And obviously the key part about that is doing that yourself, but he's really been a big catalyst in giving me some confidence in being able to do some stuff that I've done from here. So I'll pass it over to him now. But Logan, welcome to the Balcony Podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Tyler. I'm gonna be honest with you, you just about made me cry in that opening, just being so nice. So thank you for all the kind words. I'm super excited to be able to take part in this, and I think what you're doing is super amazing and super unique, and I hope that people continue to recognize that as you continue to kind of grow the balcony and what the purpose is.
Thank you. Again, I think last week I said as well, I don't want it to take over speaking most of the time in these sort of things. So perhaps if you want to run through a little bit of maybe your introduction to me and the balcony, and we can kick it off from there.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I guess who I am, holy. I'm an individual in a large world of people. No, I'm from Calgary, Alberta in Canada. Lived here my whole life until I moved out to Victoria in 2016. Lived there for 5 years, and in the last 4 months I was there, we met. It was probably the best 4 months I had in Victoria over my whole time. So many cool memories and great times. I guess how Tyler and I met was Tyler worked at the grocery store where my downstairs neighbor worked. They ended up starting to hang out and become friends, and then Tyler and I just kind of, hit it off. I call him my brother from another mother in some occasions. Yeah, we really hit it off, and just kind of has sparked a friendship out of that. Tyler first introduced me to the balcony one night when he was over at my house out on our balcony having a little party and a little get together with the downstairs neighbor, and I'm a little bit social, so I popped out to say hi. I guess Tyler gave me an overview of what the balcony was, and I thought that it was a super cool initiative to kind of keep going and just really keep going, because he was interested in it. I've always personally been really interested in mental health and opening up that conversation. I worked for 3 years in residence at University of Victoria, and opening the conversation around mental health was super big for us there. so Tyler's initiative really spoke to me on that level. So Tyler and I kind of kept talking about that. I really tried to encourage him to kind of keep going with all the balcony stuff in Canada, because I thought that it was going to be a really big thing. And I think that hopefully it's taken off for him as much as I can see that it will. As you can tell, Tyler's super passionate about what he does. And I think that was part of the reason that really drew me to want to help and like encourage him to keep going with his balcony stuff. He instills what the balcony is, and that helps kind of bring that conversation forward and open it up for people. I guess one more thing, and then I'll kind of let you have a word or two in. Tyler, I'll stop hogging the mic. But I guess my own journey with mental health has involved so many ups and downs, and we can explore that if you're interested. But it just, having someone like Tyler who instills such an open conversation around that really helped me work through some stuff. When I met Tyler, I was in a pretty low point, living by myself, and knowing I had to move away from the place that I grew to love over 4 years. And Tyler really kind of helped me open up that conversation and build a base to be okay with what was happening, and really supported my mental health growth. So I don't know if you have any comments and conversation topics to keep going with, Tyler, but
honestly, I think the one thing that I'd say from that is that you're not giving yourself enough credit, even for this, what we're doing right now. I think, being completely honest and vulnerable, and maybe living what I preach a little bit here. That when we met, I was in a pretty dark, terrible place. I'm not going to hide behind that. There's a lot of things that were going on that I was, really, really struggling with. And probably at the time thinking that I'd be doing this, or even really, reinventing the concept and driving it, wasn't something that was on my agenda. And you were probably the key catalyst for reigniting that. And I think you were just super passionate about saying that it would make a difference and that people would really resonate with it. And then I guess that gave me the confidence to probably talk about it a little bit more. And that's what's snowballed into this. So you can talk yourself up a little bit. We talked about it on the podcast last week, but it's not, you're just being honest. You were huge. So, and I mean, the other thing with that as well is that, I always remember the car ride back from Galliano Island when we went for that.
That was a fun trip. That was a fun trip.
It was a great trip. That beach, that music, what a time. But
vibe check.
But yeah. There were some serious vibe checks. So shout out to the Bali crew there. We're in that car ride, and you, I don't know, you could just sense something was going on. I was definitely deep in my mind, and you just asked the right questions. And I think one of the things I talk about with a lot of people when I talk about these things is sometimes, well, most of the time, it's not really about having the right answers in life. It's about being able to ask the right questions. And you definitely did. And you sort of hit me down the middle in a really considered way that I think I even talked about on the last episode, that it was more from a shared experience. You mentioned that you've, had your own troubles and struggles with mental health as well. And yeah, showing your own vulnerability really helped me talk about that. And that really strengthened our relationship, I think, as well. So, give yourself some credit, Logan. You're an amazing human being. But yeah, perhaps maybe share a little bit more about, that experience for yourself in terms of maybe the big lessons that you've learned through some of those things, and maybe how it applies to this concept. Because ultimately the goal of even recording these conversations is for someone to take one thing away, or know that they're not alone with that type of conversation, or get some strength in numbers perhaps. So I think that would be a really valuable thing.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to go back to two pieces.
Okay, sure.
I want to go back to two pieces. Sorry, I am taking notes because I'm going to forget everything we talk about, and I do have to remember where the conversation is going at least.
Yeah.
First of all, birds of a feather flocked together when we were both in a low point and kind of pulled each other out of it, which was a great piece. I guess the second point was I wanted to know if you're okay chatting a little bit about that car ride, because I thought that car ride was super, not even for yourself and opening a moment, but just like a good bonding moment and an open conversation around it. So as long as you're okay with it.
Hit me.
So backstory for everybody listening, okay? We're on a car ride back from an island. We're on a ferry, and Tyler's sitting in the back seat of a car, not saying a single word. We just spent the whole weekend together.
It's very rare. That's very rare for me.
And I had to sleep the whole weekend beside this guy, and he's chatting my ear off till like 3 a.m, but finally he's not speaking in the car. So I felt like, okay, well, evidently there is something going on with Tyler that we can really open up with here. So I think my opening line to you was, and I'm gonna swear if that's okay with you. Is this supposed to be PG?
Fucking go for it.
Okay. I said, Tyler, what the fuck is going on right now? And Tyler, being Tyler, originally was a little, you were a little hesitant to share. Okay, we'd only known each other for like 3 weeks at this point, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of ended up getting to a point where you were chatting, and what the whole conversation was about, and where we started with the whole thing was you were having doubts about staying in Canada.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And what your purpose was.
Yes.
And I think that some of the big pullaways that we brought from that, and I think that this will help other people as well, just like sitting and listening to this, is like, you don't always have to know what your next step is or why you're doing something. As long as you are doing something that makes you happy, at the end of the day, everything is going to work out in the right way. And I'm not saying that like you don't have to put effort in to get there, but when we ended up coming out of that conversation, Tyler, and maybe you can speak to where you were coming out of that conversation, because I can only find my side of it. Mm-hmm. But for me, the only thing I wanted you to pull out of that was, it didn't matter if you knew what you were doing in Canada, as long as you were here and you were having fun and you enjoyed yourself, that's all that mattered. And I think that for a lot of people, especially in a society where we're being forced to decide what we're doing 10 years down the road and who we're going to be and what we want to do with the rest of our lives, especially as young people like yourself and myself, we have no idea. And that is totally okay. But as long as you know what you're doing at the moment and you like what you're doing, you're in the right place. So I don't know if you want to speak to where you came out of on that, but I think that's a great stepping off point, because wow, that conversation just changed everything, I think, for yourself from what I've seen on why you've ended up staying.
Yeah, well, yeah, honestly, Logan, like let me say this first, and then I'll go back to that car ride. So when you left, when you moved back and you gave me, oh no, honestly, like just listening to that and thinking about it now, you kind of did that already in that conversation, because let's actually look at what happened after that conversation. So yeah, at that point in time where I was in my headspace, at that, I hadn't started my spiritual meditation journey that I've since gone on. I hadn't looked at more entrepreneurial things. I hadn't even written that personal mission statement that I'd written. I hadn't done any of that stuff yet, right? And honestly, what I look back at my career and my life in Australia, and obviously the thing that will always be dear to me and that I miss the most is the human connection side of stuff with the people and all those type of things. But as an individual and what I'd done career-wise and things like that, yeah, I would say that I was definitely successful, but was it aligned with who I was as a person and my values and this mission statement that came up with? Probably not. I was almost doing the old traditional thing of, you go to school, you go to uni, you buy a house, you do that type of stuff, right? And your ability to feel how I was feeling and frame exactly what you just said in terms of like, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to know exactly where you're going to be and all those type of things. And the societal point is huge. There's so many people that just feel those pressures all the time. You almost just hit stop completely on where my brain was at. And honestly, that probably was the first moment that I was present, which has then led to all the other things that I've spent so much time working on about remaining present. So, yeah, I'm almost like, I'm so grateful for that and for you, because yeah, you're so right. If you look at the trajectory of my life, and not just my life, but my headspace from there, that was an amazing moment. And obviously that brought us closer together. And if this is anything for other people to take from it, like, how many times would you be sitting with a friend and they're silent, or that you can tell that, I think I said last episode that you can sort of feel that genuine nature, or there's just that energy or connectivity between people. There's probably so many times you're sitting in a car or in a space with someone and you don't say anything, right? But look at that potential power of having a conversation of what that can untap, right? Like, the worst case scenario is they say, I'm okay, and they're lying, or they don't want to talk about it, and that's fine because they don't have to talk about it. But look at what the best case scenario is. So why not ask your friends those type of questions? So you're allowed to swear. You're a fucking star, honestly.
Oh, what a guy. I think
Yeah.
Here, can I give you a piece of how I like to call it the fuck it mentality, but
Mm.
this is, I actually kind of learned it through a training that I did with my work at University of Victoria. When working as an RA, we had to go through different levels of training, and all of this was done internally, evidently. But one of the sessions that we did was suicide intervention training, and honestly, like the hardest day that I have ever had to spend doing any training ever. Like just such a tough conversation to have, and you never know what's going to come out of it. But one of the most important things, and I think that that's why I have this kind of fuck it mentality, and we brought up that conversation, and I hope that more people are able to do this, is what they said to us was, you're never going to make things worse.
Mm.
If somebody is thinking about something, they're already thinking about it. And if they're not thinking about it, then you're not putting an idea in their head. They have to come up with that on their own. And in a not suicide intervention mindset to it, like when you were in that headspace of why am I here? Like, what is going on? I didn't have to, and give yourself credit with it, I didn't have to say a lot to get you out of that headspace. All I had to say was, hey, what is going on? Like, why are you quiet? What's happening in your life? Because you're already thinking about what's going on, and you're already doubting yourself and doubting why you're there and what's going on. And yes, that question did send you on a trajectory, but had you never had that thought, the trajectory would have never happened, right? So it's okay to have those kind of negative or like challenging, self-challenging thoughts, as long as you can work through them, and you can have somebody at your side that's willing to ask you, well, what is going on? Like, let's talk about this. Let's work out this conversation. And I think that the balcony being a place where people can have that conversation, and a group of people that are interested in opening up that conversation is a great thing to have. And that's why I kind of encouraged you to keep going with it, because there are a lot of people in this planet, and not all of them are willing and happy to do the things that you do and are as passionate about it. So that's why I kind of encourage you to keep going with this, is because this is such a cool and like fun initiative that opens up a conversation in a good way, similar to how we opened up the conversation in the car.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, to ride your coattails on that, like, I even tried to reconnect with someone really close to me recently, and all you can really do is provide that sense of support and that network. And I use words like inclusive and community, and those are words that I think I wrote down when I was writing notes about having you on, because you represent those things as well. But ultimately, the only person that can really help yourself is yourself, like in terms of instigating actual change, right?
Yep.
But the thing that I preach all the time is it's so much easier when you got people in your corner, and that's literally what this is all about. Even in this last week with some tough stuff, just knowing that I can send you a message and just hit you with WhatsApp and all that type of stuff, that in itself is just an amazing outlet. You can't actually do anything about it. No one really can, but even just that release is huge. And that's, I think I mentioned it last episode about that sense of feeling alone. That's the scariest thing for sure. Even if it's not real, sometimes people just feel that sense. So any opportunity to relieve that is worth its weight in gold for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I'm gonna not preach to all of our sports fans, but I'm gonna say what my mom says to me is that, yeah, she might not always agree with what I do, but she's always on my bench. And I think that surrounding yourself with people who are on your bench no matter what, even if they don't agree with it, is like the first step in having a happy and successful life. I mean, you spoke to creating community, and that being something that I'm good at, or I like doing. And yeah, I love doing it, because at the end of the day, I'm picking and choosing the family that's going to be on my bench for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of them might come and go over the years, but creating a community, or having a community of people that you can trust and you can sit down and have a conversation around not being okay with, is like the biggest step. So if I'm going to give you an example, Tyler.
Oh God, is this what you were talking about?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was a different one. I was going to go with something else, but I like this one actually.
Go with both.
Okay, well, I was going to talk about Danielle, and
Sure.
maybe I was just going to say, like, Danielle, for those listening, Danielle is my long-term friend. We've known each other since we were probably about 15 years old. I consider her probably my best friend out in the world. But I never have any hesitation bringing anything up to her. I know that she doesn't always agree with what I do, and that's okay. But as long as I have someone like her in my life, like, you know that everything's going to be okay at the end of the day. Anyways, the one that's going to make Tyler cry, which we talked about before this, was, and this is my example of I guess somebody that's supporting me unconditionally. And unfortunately, like, this person and I have had a falling out since then, due to mutual differences, we'll say. But back in, I guess, and I think you knew this a little bit about me, Tyler, was like back in September, I went through a pretty large breakup of somebody I had been with for like 2 or 3 years, well, close to 2 years. They were like a super instrumental piece of my life, and like part of the reason that I stayed in Victoria for as long as I did. And when we broke up, I lost my sense of purpose, and I lost who I was, and started exploring some pretty negative thoughts and feelings, for those people that may have feelings of like self-harm and that kind of stuff. Like, I've been there. It's really hard. And I am an awful person about talking about my feelings. I blame it on being a Capricorn.
You're doing super well. Nailing it. Keep going. You're crushing it.
I'm bringing astrology into this. Well, it's just a story. I feel better about this.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't feel like I could really talk to anybody or bring anything up, because I had this persona created around myself of being the person that supports everyone else. And I hope that there are people out there that this might help, is that even if you're the person that supports everyone else, doesn't mean that you don't need support.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I started to see a counselor, and my counselor said, well, do you have people that can support you? And I said, yeah, there are, but I don't want them to see me like this. Like, I don't want to be this vulnerable with them. And she said, I just want you to tell one person about what is going on to you, like, or for you. Like, you don't have to tell everybody, but just tell one person that you trust of what's going on to you, with you. And I took what she said, and I went and I talked to my closest friend at the time, when I was out in Victoria, and they were super accepting of everything going on. And they said, look, like, give me a key to your building. Like, I'm going to come up, I'm going to check on you. Like, I'm going to be there for you if you need anything. Like, you tell me. And I don't think that, if I'm being honest, I would be sitting where I am today if I didn't have that person just be so supportive and there with me. And I hope that they know this. But like, there are people that will make or break you in your life, and this person made it for me. So I guess where I'm trying to go with this story, and I didn't make you cry, so that's good. But where I'm trying to go with this story is that you need to surround yourself with someone who doesn't judge you and will just be there for you. And it's hard to do that. But when you get that person, there's no other feeling like it in the world.
Yeah.
Like, just nothing. Yeah.
Honestly, no, I think, what you just said at the start, like, I hope this helps one person. That resonates with me, even having started the balcony for the purpose that it was just supporting others and it's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes it's taxing when you start going through stuff. But if you're the person that is open about being able to, approach and talk to you about things that are really tough in your life, obviously a big part of what we're doing here is being available for others. But sometimes when that happens all the time, and then you start going through some stuff on your own, like, it's a really tough situation. So in essence, the goal of this is to promote those that are in that space and able to have those conversations. It's so that even the ones that do have other people to talk to as well, because, I think perhaps what we were probably getting at is that we've both played a very similar role in each other's lives over the journey since we've met each other in some really, really key ways. And that's probably why we have the bond that we have now. I'm just realizing the first two people that I've had on here are people that I didn't grow up with, and people that don't even live in the same area as me now. And I think that's just a testament to how strong these type of connections can be when you form them for the right reasons, in the right way, with the right intentions, whatever those things are. But, I think a lesson out of that story as well is, there's no shame and no harm in seeking professional help with stuff. I think we said in the first episode that none of us, have the level of education to prescribe a lot of different things, but that a lot of people do. And sometimes it's a really important thing. I'm going to sit here and say that I've seen 3 therapists in my life for different reasons. Yeah, you three as well. You're putting up three fingers.
Yeah, I've seen 3 as well over my lifetime.
Yeah. And I mean, I look back at the lessons that I've learned out of that and think, as you know, there's some things that your community of people just don't know because it's a lot of technical stuff that goes into it. But the first thing is there's no shame in reaching out for professional help if you need it. Never feel ashamed by that. And the second thing as well is that, you know, and obviously your therapist promoted that, but having the bravery to then go and reach out to your friends about something that's serious, those darkest thoughts, I've been there as well. Like, I think like you said about at the start of that story about there's nothing, you can't plant a thought in someone's head in terms of a negative thing or ever feel responsible for someone else's actions. But being available, having that network and taking that step as the person that's suffering it, that's just admirable stuff. And I can't, I guess, commend you more than I possibly could on this call. And for I guess, yeah, congratulating you on doing that, because look at you now, you handsome boy.
Oh, what a guy. You just pepper me with compliments. You make me blush. I do have 3 things I want to say, actually two things I want to say, and then move on to not a little bit of a different topic, just a different conversation here. First thing I want to say is for people who are looking at need some help professionally from anybody. I've been to 3 counselors because at least one of them wasn't the right fit. So if you go to somebody and they're not the right fit for you, you don't vibe with what's going on with them, you don't really like their practice, don't be afraid to look for somebody else. There is somebody out there for you. So that's my first piece. That's number 1. Number 2, which is similar but not the same. Okay. So number 2, which is really important for me, is, and what my counselor said to me, and this is why I was willing to reach out, is for somebody that may not want to go to see a professional help or a professional therapist for the rest of their lives, which is totally okay. And I'm one of those people, so I understand it. If you're able to start opening up that conversation with other people around you, those people aren't going to be professionals, but they're at least going to be able to be there and support you in a way that they can as a friend. So by opening up that conversation with a friend, you're not seeking professional help, but you're at least starting to move forward and not always requiring to get that professional help. You're helping yourself in a sense. Yeah. That's my second point. My third thing, because I'm just all about numbers right now.
Yeah, hit me with it.
I wanted to talk about your own growth, Tyler, since the time that I met you. Okay. Sure. So when we had that conversation in a car, you were at a pretty low point. And we evidently you've come past that. I mean, you've decided to launch a Canadian side of the balcony. You're running or helping run a successful hummus company at the moment. And you are doing things that you're super passionate about. I just wanted to talk about, like, maybe what was some of your mindsets that helped you move from where you were in that car and to where you are now, or if there's anything that you might be able to, like, talk to about where you're coming from and where you want to go.
Yeah. So to piggyback on from the car ride conversation, I think the biggest takeaway for me was to stop and go, what actually makes me happy? What am I passionate about? Remove everybody else from my life. I probably have stories littered through my 29 years where there's been either dependence on other people for happiness or for other things, which is obviously not healthy in the long term. And just go, okay, like, what am I super into? Like, what makes me happy individually? And I was reading a book at the time, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it ran through, in a business professional sense, a little bit, but still personal, individual related, like writing your own mission statement. And it was weird that was all happening at the same time as probably the universe doing its thing. But, realizing that, okay, what am I passionate about? I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about sport. I'm passionate about craft beer. Beer. Passionate about craft beer. I'm passionate about helping people and going, okay, well, like, is it just the helping people thing, or like, what is it? And for me, it's just general connectivity, and not from a like reliance perspective of having to have people in my life, but from I really get energy and I don't know, energy from being around others, helping them with things, connecting other people, connecting with people. I was lucky enough to get in contact with a lady that works high up in business development Canada whilst I've worked here. And she is an amazing lady. And she said that everyone has a superpower. And she said that my superpower is, if you've seen the movie Avatar, in the movie, the sort of the world and
one with the blue people, right? Not the one that's the like at the last Airbender movie. That's bad. The blue one, right?
Definitely blue people one.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Good,
Yes.
good clarification though, for
Yeah,
sure.
thank you.
Yeah. It's about like the connectivity with the planet and the people and the systems, and the Just Those Boys will love that I've said systems on this. It's all about the connectivity with stuff. And that's me. So I went, okay, well, like, how am I actually doing that right now in my life? Like, am I actually feeding my happy buckets, as someone at my previous place of employment asked me? And I just realized, no, like, it was pretty confronting. You have to do a lot of self-reflection. You have to really go deep diving into yourself. It's where the therapist came from. I mentioned in the last podcast that there's some stuff that I went through as a child that still has its remaining effects on who I am and how I operate. But yeah, from that car ride, I went, okay, well, what am I passionate about? What am I doing to feel those things? And then I just started taking steps towards it. I went out of my comfort zone. I started to meet as many new people as I could, because I know that I value connectivity. I started actually believing that if I keep being a good person and have confidence, that things will fall my way. And ironically, like, I'm not going to go into all the stories now, but if you ask how I ended up doing the things that I'm doing now, or how I know the people that I know now, it sounds fake in terms of the stories of how it's happened with connectivity and meeting the people and all that type of stuff. But it does come from a mindset. It comes from being confident in yourself and who you are, and really knowing yourself. And that is such an easy sentence to say, but it's such a hard thing to do. And the thing that I'll umbrella all of that is, without someone like yourself to ask the questions in the first place and actually listen and understand, and without having that network of people there, I'm not going to say that I wouldn't have done it, because, you know, I do believe in myself, but God, it would have been a lot harder, and it would have been so much more painful. And you know, maybe I wouldn't be where I am at right now. So I don't even know if I answered your question. To be honest.
You did answer my question. I think there's two things I want to say, and I'm back on my numbers thing again.
I'm rambling because I don't want you to make me cry. So I'm like trying to just say things.
No, I'm not gonna make you cry. I don't think I could physically do that. First thing is, I think what you're trying to get at with that last piece, and the way I'm taking it, maybe somebody else will resonate with what I say rather than your explanation of it. But
I was rambling. I was just rambling. That was bad.
It was cute. I liked it.
Okay.
If I were to paint a picture of it, you're presented with a big rock in front of you, right? Your rock was, why am I here? What am I doing? Where am I going? And I think that, yeah, you would have gotten that rock pushed, and you would have gotten going, and you would have moved that rock. But having those people around you, it changes the amount of work that it takes to start moving that rock. You have two people, yourself and myself, and Mikey, who you talked to last week, and all of those other supports, and the Just Those Boys now, that are helping you push that rock forward to get it out of your way, so that you know and you have your purpose. And I think that that's what we're not dancing around it. We're being pretty straightforward with the whole thing, but it's about having those people to help you push your rock out of the way. And in hard times, having those extra people, or getting those people to help you push, is really instrumental. I did want to talk about your happy buckets, because I thought that was really, I love that. Happy buckets is so cool. I never thought about that before.
Yeah. Shout out. So I'm going to name her. Christine is the HR manager at the Root Cellar, and she was the first person to present that to me when I was in around the same time as the Galliano trip, and I'd never heard it before. And to be honest, when I heard it, I was like, what? And for some reason, it has just sat in my mind the entire time. So shout out to Christine. Unpack that. Go for it.
Well, I think that happy buckets is such an interesting term, because we talk about, as a society, we talk about, find something you love to do, find something that you want to do for the rest of your life, find something that you're passionate about. And that's super cool, because it's easy to say, okay, like for myself as an example, I'm really passionate about being active and building community. Well, when I went into university, I had no idea what program or degree I had to take to build community. But by finding things I was passionate about, and things I really love doing, I've actually found a career path out of it. So I guess like the happy buckets piece, and our society builds something where they want you to know what's going to make you happy. And yes, you may have a job. And at the time you were at Root Cellar, that you didn't, maybe you wasn't your like be all end all, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I love going to work every day. I don't know. I'm not speaking nothing, but
I love the Root Cellar. It's an amazing business. Amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool place. But what I'm saying is that you have to go out there and you have to find the things that make you happy, and then you pursue that. Filling a happy bucket is great when you do it on your own free time, but you want to find something that fills your happy bucket all the time. And I think you've done that now, right? Like,
yeah,
you're working at a craft beer place, serving beer to cool people, and like meeting all these awesome people out in the world. Like, you're doing something that you love with craft beer, but you're also doing, like, you're making money doing it or being passionate about it on the side, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with a happy bucket, is you got to look at ways that you can sustainably fill your happy bucket. It doesn't just have to be like, I go and work my 9-to-5 day job that I really love doing, but find something that you're passionate about on an everyday basis is maybe where I'm trying to go with this.
No, like, yeah, and you hear a lot of people roll their eyes at this sort of stuff, but it's sort of sentence of, if you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life, those type of sayings and stuff. And yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there's not a lot of constraints societally, COVID-wise now, that really maybe make it a lot more difficult to just jump into something that you love. But, you know, what I've learned is that just to not be afraid. Like when I left the Root Cellar, I didn't have anything lined up that was going to be secure for me. That was super scary at the time, but I just believed in myself enough to know that, you know, I have the skills that I have, or the, you know, the education that I have, or the personality that I have. But beyond all of those things, if you're passionate enough about those things, people that are in those industries will see that and value that above anything else. And sometimes, yeah, there's roadblocks and hurdles to that, but over time, to maybe bring back to your rock metaphor, ultimately you are the rock, really. Like, that rock is yourself, or your self limiting beliefs, maybe, should we say,
your mental space.
100%.
Yep.
And, you know, even your metaphor still stands with other people pushing that rock, because sometimes you need that little nudge to get out of that headspace. Like you said about the car ride thing, obviously I already know those things in my head, and it's me that is the catalyst to make the action. But ultimately, yeah, that rock's just yourself. And I think sometimes it's naive to say that some size of rock is never going to be there, because you're always going to have doubts and stuff like that. But over time, that can become significantly smaller. And then the moving forward is twofold, because the rock is smaller and the people in your corner are bigger. And that's when you start kicking goals. You know, I imagine that would be some of the most successful people in the world could probably relate to that analogy. I don't think any of them are going to pretend that they did it all on their own, but they probably were able to minimize the size of their rock because they just had lots more belief in themselves, and they knew that they were passionate about what they're doing. And all those little things added up make the biggest difference. So yeah, I think if anything, to bring it back to a point, is that when you're going through hard times, the hardest thing to do is maybe think about what makes you happy, because you're in such a negative space. But honestly, it's the most empowering thing ever. And to go full circle of it and bring Tyler 2.0, that's how weird it made so much sense. Believe in yourself and no one and nothing can stop you. That's literally the rock metaphor that we just talked about.
100%.
So in anything, that's the perfect metaphor for you and I to talk about, because that's the gift that you gave me. That's the spirit that you exude out into the universe. And that's why I wanted you on this call.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think I've told this to you before. Evidently, I wrote what I wrote on the picture there, but I don't think I ever told you why I gave you that picture. Did I?
I think it's a great way to finish. I think let's finish with that. I've not heard this.
Okay. So when I was leaving, I wanted to give people things, and I only gave out a handful. I wanted to give people things that would help them in life. And I knew for yourself that you are such an amazing person with such an amazing, I'm going to call this an initiative with the balcony.
Sure.
Because I think that opening up the conversation around mental health is an initiative that needs to be addressed. I knew that you're passionate about things that really matter, but you were struggling with believing in yourself. And I gave you that because I wanted to tell you that even if you don't believe in yourself, there is somebody else out there, myself, Mikey, all of the people that are listening, that do believe in you. And at the end of the day, we are all there to support you as you are there to support us. So I gave you that in an effort to show you that there are people, whether you believe in yourself or not, that do believe in you.
No.
So I hope that what comes out of that, and yes, of course, it says that you are the only catalyst you need, but sometimes you do need a little push from somebody else to remember that. And I hope that since I've left, and hopefully we get to reunite here in the next 3 weeks like we're supposed to, but I hope that you have been able to grow that self-confidence and self-belief that you can do it, and you are creating such a difference in people's lives, and I hope you know that.
No, Logan, honestly, it sits proudly next to the television in the living space here, where my new housemate can see it, or anyone else that's come over can see it. And I don't even hesitate to talk about how proud I am to have this gift from yourself in there. And I actually, my housemate, Molly, who's an absolute star as well, asked about it today for the first time. And it's weird that it was today because we were filming this today. Yeah. And I light up when I talk about it because it means the world to me. It's something that came into my life in the most perfect time. It's like you, in that sense. I know I cherish it. And I think to wrap it up, I think the biggest thing for me with yourself as well is that you, and I said this to Mikey in a way as well, that you live and breathe this stuff, Logan. Like even before we spoke about it on the balcony, ironically, it's a lot of synergy there. You're just someone that really represents a lot of this stuff. And I know in your friendship circles, I know that Danny really resonates with that part of your personality as well. I'm super proud of you for being like that as well. And, to have to go back home and all this COVID stuff, and even what we're facing the next few weeks, just trying to connect is super, super tough and super, super painful. But to know that, we have each other in these type of things is really valuable. And I absolutely am just blessed to have had you fall into my lap like that.
I really appreciate that, Tyler. You're making me tear up, so I'm not gonna make this too long.
Got him.
But son of a gun. But thank you for everything that you do, and I think I speak for everybody that listens to this. But thank you for opening up this conversation and being so passionate about the balcony. I appreciate you having me on to talk about this. And for anybody out there that may feel like they need a friend, like, honestly, hopefully Tyler puts my Instagram in the credits, the closing credits. But like, honestly, do not be afraid to reach out and start a conversation with myself or Tyler or anybody about your mental health. But I just wanted to say thanks for having me on it. And I hope that people get something out of this.
Well, and even if no one else does, I did. So, yes, before we go though, because of the timing of this sort of stuff, and it all fits in with this, everyone will see that I have a lovely, beautiful red handlebar on my face at the moment. So that is obviously for November. I have my own personal page. The link is in the balcony, and my personal Instagram profiles. I don't really know how to do this stuff yet, but I'll put it somewhere when I post this for sure. Obviously the Movember movement is all around men's health, not just mental health, but health in general. There is an element that relates specifically to mental health. The way that this started on the balcony back in Adelaide was around promoting men's mental health. Obviously the balcony concept doesn't just relate to men. It's universal. It relates to everyone. But in terms of this particular cause, it's obviously very close to my heart. It's very close to what the balcony represents. And if you really want to support some cause, none of this money goes to myself or the balcony. It goes to helping keep men living longer, essentially. So if you do have any spare money to donate, I'd really, really appreciate it. That would mean the world to me. And any of the toques that I have left in the Victoria area, any of the profits for them are going to go straight to the Movember campaign. So hit up myself or the balcony Instagram, and I'll get these to you ASAP. Even if I can't get them to you before the end of November, all the proceeds will still go to that cause. So Logan, just to get your beautiful face up one more time, I absolutely love you so much. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. I appreciate it.
And yeah, I will hopefully get to give you a big cuddle in a few weeks if COVID chills out. But if not, I can't wait to see you again. And yeah, I'll definitely have you back on anytime.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Take care, man.
All right, love you, buddy.
Love you too. Bye.